Welcome to WLNM, the web novel and manga review, hosted by Zeke Changuris.
Again, welcome to WLNM, the web light novel and manga review. We are dedicated to bringing our listeners the very special artists and writers that are part of this amazing explosion of creativity, giving us stories to entertain and inspire us. We'd like to welcome today the creative force behind the successful webtoon The Witch and the Bull, Moonsia. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Let's see. So you average, if I'm getting this right, about 40,000 views per episode of Witch and the Bull.
Actually, I don't know.
Well, I'm looking at the clicks. So
Yeah.
the clicks say like 40,000. So for those of us who aren't familiar with the story, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, normally I'm not the best at telling like what the plot is, but basically, it's a guy who works as the king's advisor, and then he got turned into a bull. I don't even know how to explain this. I know this is like my story, but I'm very bad at vocalizing, like describing the story.
Okay,
Um,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
Well, it's about this fantasy world in which this advisor to the king, who I found rather obnoxious, uh, gets turned into a bull by some happenstance, and his only his best chance at being turned back from a bull instead of being used as stakes happens to be a witch whom he and people like him have driven to near extinction after a war. So it seems to be a little bit of a
It's not
love-hate
really
relationship.
it's not really to extinction, but it's more like well, like they had a war, like human and witches have a war, like
Okay.
for a couple of years, and then they the the humans won the war, and then now they're taking over the witch world. So they take over their land and everything, and the people have to live together. You know, they are forming like a new kind of country, like where human and witches they live together. But the guy who got turned into a bull, Tan, he is a very, I don't know if you can say this, like racist towards witches.
Okay.
And so like he like higher ups the Texas, he made up like laws that are against witches, and so they don't like really, there's imbalance in this society, right? It's like a new thing people are getting used to, and he's not handling it very well. And the king has a different vision. He wants the his kingdom to be more like he wants like people live in harmony basically, but it's
Okay.
really hard to like get to that point. And then even though Tan is trying to do that, but he's not really doing it from the heart. So
Okay.
that's why there's a lot of like things going on, like all the witches hate him. And so eventually he got turned into a bull by somebody, and then he met this witch who was disguised as a cafe owner that's really popular in town, because she saw she saw through like he's not really a bull, right?
Right.
And yeah, but she can see through it, so she tries to save him. But within this time, like she's trying to save him, like she also like revealed herself as like the most powerful and vicious witch that like that killed a lot of people.
Yeah. I have to say her her style of witchcraft I thought was very inventive. I hadn't seen something similar to that before, and I've read a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fantasy. What was your, well, not just that. her not just her power, but what was your kind of inspiration? What kind of got the ball rolling in this story for you? What made you think, okay, this is a story I can tell?
There's a lot of different things like as inspirations. Like so like the idea of having a bow that shoots into the sky and then summons something was actually maybe like I had that idea like 10 years ago when I was studying game design. I was designing a game. And then I never like ended up working on that idea after. And then when I something without with the bull was I don't know if you're familiar with like the Chinese like zodiacs.
A little bit.
Yeah, and then so
I
like
have
there
watched Fruit Baskets.
yeah. So like the second one was ox basically. It's not like
Yes.
anything else. It was ox, and then ox are known for like very like hardworking, everything. So originally I had an idea of something with like hard work and like someone who got turned into an ox who's a lazy person. So but this idea isn't very strong, but it's very like simple. So I just combine like different things together, and then it just happens to be like this. Because I was trying
Okay.
to write a story for Webtoon, and I was trying to actually put things together. So I don't know. I put in
Well,
something,
think,
I put in something, yeah. Hmm?
thinking of your process, are you one of those writers who plot everything out beforehand, or are you kind of making it up and adapting it and seeing where your characters take you?
Well, I planned like all the plots for every episodes. So for the whole season, the first season, like I already decide like what episode what's gonna happen. But I make sure I leave room for me to like wiggle a little bit. Like if I have something thought out on the spot, I'll just like try to fit it in.
Okay. Now, were you feeling a romantic comedy vibe when you were trying to make it? Because it kind of feels a little bit like that to me. And I am a big fan of romance. And if you can make me laugh, I doubly appreciate it. Uh, but I mean, were you going for that to begin with? Or was it just something that evolved with the two different personalities?
Well, I feel like in the beginning I want to write a romance, but like for me to write a romance is it's very hard if it's simply romance, and I cannot like make anything work. But
Okay.
so like in this like fantasy world when like people like when they two of them has to be bind to each other, like it's very easy like if I can write a romance out of it, but I'm not gonna let the romance like take over the main storyline. It's
Okay.
just gonna help the storyline.
All right. So I really like Aro, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Uh, I how would you describe this? I guess, is she a reluctant powerhouse witch? Uh, is she one of those soldiers who's trying to, regain, or they regretted what they did and they're trying to build forward, remake their lives? I mean, how would you describe her?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, like before, like she was just like some sort of genius that works for like the witch army, and then suddenly got so powerful, and she didn't know like it's gonna like harm so many people. Like it wasn't like her intention in magic is to make people happy. So this is like against her intention. So like she's trying to like fix herself up, but she knows like there's some sort of guilt in her. So when she saw this guy who got turned into a bull the by her invention of magic, she she feels like she's responsible for it.
Okay.
So yeah, this whole
So
journey, like she is trying to like you know to forgive herself basically.
okay. So it's a kind like a redemptive story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The now talking about you as a creator, um, do you find yourself artist first, writer first? I mean, can you separate those two talents, or Do you need that visual medium in order to tell stories?
I'm definitely an artist first. Yeah.
Okay.
I draw everything out in the beginning. Yeah. So like I can draw like in image. Like say the idea of Aro like in the beginning, how she looked like. It was like a girl with a ponytail but like all silver, like just like riding a boat in the Milky Way and then shooting at stars, basically. That was like the idea in the beginning.
Very pretty picture.
Yeah, so I drew that. And then I just like, and I just left it there for 10 years and now I pick it back up and then I wrote a story about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I have to say I absolutely love the visual aesthetic that you have. The that ancient Mediterranean vibe throughout the whole thing.
Mhm.
I mean, what made you to go with that instead of an Eastern feel or a more I don't know, contemporary medieval? If you
Simply
want
because I was just there traveling.
to.
I was there for I was there for 6 weeks because I was after I left New York, I started traveling the world.
Yeah.
So I was traveling in Europe, and then they're all like they're so fun. Like it's just so different than what I see in the U.S. and then in Asia. And I was in the Mediterranean most of the time, and I was like, I want to write something. Like if I write a story, if I have to draw it, the next one it has to be in the Mediterranean. But
That's
I love Croatia the most.
okay.
So I started from drawing the story starting from Split, Croatia. So you can see a lot of buildings that's actually there.
Yeah, I know many movie companies have used Croatia's coastline as a double for Venice, Italy, because it's cheaper to film in Croatia than it is to film in Venice.
Yeah, it's honestly so nice. Like I love that place.
Yeah. Hey, how would you say sites like Webtoon have been able to lower barriers for creators to put their work out in the world? I mean, how how awesome is that, really? I mean, to give you and other creators that access. I mean, is do you see this as a great launching board, or just because you need a creative outlet, you need a place to put your work? It's kind of I don't. I really appreciate
Yeah,
having all these sites now.
yeah. I never thought like we're gonna have these kind of platforms before. Like it makes everything so convenient because when we're younger, like we all have ideas and then we all create, but nobody is seeing them or besides like the people next to you maybe.
Yes.
But like, and I always struggle about like, I always want to become a comic artist and I was like, I don't even know how to do that. Now you can just do it and just like put it online, put it on Webtoon or other sites like Tapas or whatever. Yeah,
Right.
and then people can discover you. But like the one thing that I find Webtoon especially like helpful for me is that I'm very bad at promoting myself. Like I don't know how to do the marketing. I don't know how to
Right.
like reach out to people. So they do that for me, and I just feel like it's so grateful.
That's hey, nothing beats good help with marketing.
It takes skills.
Yes, it does. A whole set of skills that many of us just don't have. Some artists, some creators work on multiple projects at a time. Uh, do you have any other ideas that you're going to try and put out? Or are you going to put this one to bed first and then maybe start a second one?
Um, I mean, I don't create different things at once because I just one just occupied my mind a lot. Because when I go to bed at night, I think about it, and I think about it till I sleep, and then when I wake up, that's the first thing I thought about it. So there's no time for other things.
I mean, you're basically living with Arrow and Tan, and they're
And also
constantly
it's a
in.
very good like distraction for like whatever that's going on out there that I don't want to think about. Like when I think about this story, like it's kind of just like it just like sucks me into it. I guess because I enjoy like creating this story, so like I don't know. It's just like I feel like I just want to devote all my time into it.
You just want to do what you love doing, and having the chance to do it the way you have is remarkable. I really want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me, and I want to
Mhm.
thank you for sharing all your thoughts. And I can't
Well,
wait
thank
to read the
you.
next. I can't wait to read the next episode.
If you want to learn more about Moonsia, check out her website at moonsia.wixsite.com/Moonsia. You can find her on Facebook as moonsia.legend, Instagram at moonsia_art, and on Twitter at moonsia_legend. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe so we can continue to bring you the best these new creators have to offer. And to you listeners, thank you for your time, and keep reading.
This has been a WLNM podcast.